Welcome to Badger Beer Hour. I'm here with my friend Chris Drosner, Beer Baron, and Landon Cherney from Taproom Travelers.
Howdy.
How you fellas doing?
Good.
Good. Real good.
Without further ado.
So, what have you guys been up to since last month? You been out at all?
Well, why don't you start, Chris? Since you were big on the screen, but you can start. What have you been doing?
He's always been.
I went to my first. I've been going to bars a little bit lately. I've been to two breweries since we last chatted. It's very exciting. Went to a bar. Went to two bars. Kind of drank some beers and hugged people, and it felt really good. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think I'm going to keep doing it.
You're vaccinated?
I got the double vax, and to celebrate, I called up a couple friends. I didn't call. We just, we arranged, and there it was, and it was really nice. And I think I don't know. It felt. I know some people have said boy, it feels weird. I was gonna say riding a bike, but that would be the opposite of that. But I don't know. It was good, and I didn't feel weird at all.
That's awesome.
That's
great.
What have you guys been doing? Greg, have you done anything?
No.
You still holding it in?
No.
You get your poke? You got your poke?
I will be eligible soon. How about that?
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
It doesn't, but I don't mean to pry.
I'm in that hazy period of I got my jab, but I'm not fully.
Okay. Gotcha.
Gotcha. So, Landon?
Yeah. I've been fully vaccinated for well over a month. So I've done a lot, believe it or not. I had a birthday in April, so went to the Twin Cities and went to a brewery or two. Got to go home to my home in South Dakota for the first time in a year and a half. So that was interesting. It was great. It was a good time. And I felt good about it. So that was probably the best thing is that, I think we all know that South Dakota is, it's the Wild West, no masks, no nothing.
Yeah.
But I could be there feeling good about at least myself and that I wasn't giving it to others. So, yeah. And where I'm from, there's no breweries around, so it's not like I could go to any breweries around there. But otherwise, yeah, gone to a lot of breweries and drank beer with people. And Greg knows our buddy Andy. He and Robin got married last year. Nobody could go because of COVID. And so we had a backyard party this last weekend with a bunch of vaxxed friends and sat outside and celebrated their wedding. So that was good.
Yeah, real quick, because I don't want to take too much time. Chris, since you Landon, love to talk about South Dakota, but we're in Wisconsin, so we gotta hit that. But Chris, were the breweries that you went to 100% or 75%, or was there still signs of a pandemic?
The two that I went to, one was in the city of Milwaukee and one was Venture in the city of Milwaukee. We've talked about them before.
Yeah.
And they have a plan approved from the city. So they were on kind of their own, like it wasn't like a specific, I mean, I think it probably was some capacity restriction, but the way the city was doing it, you had to apply and then have your plan approved. And so it wasn't necessarily like you can only be at 25% or 50% or whatever. So, yeah, it was, I don't know. I was there in the afternoon on a Sunday, so it wasn't super, like I didn't notice it, I guess. But there were some empty, there were only a certain number of bar stools at the bar, that kind of thing. And then the other one was in Tosa. And I don't think there were any restrictions there. I guess I'm not really sure, but I mean, it was a small place and there was just a couple tables. That was pretty early on. It was like 2 maybe even 3 weeks ago. So, it felt pretty normal, and there were other bars that other bars where it was pretty much 100% normal, and that bears out from the CDC guidance that came out, and I'm assuming people are vaccinated or are willing to take the risk. So,
yep,
excellent. We'll have an update. Next month, and maybe we'll have Landon out on the road.
Hey, maybe.
All right.
Let's start the news. Chris, we were talking about breweries already.
Well, hold on. Don't we have a thing for this?
We got an open. Oh, we did the open. Don't you remember?
I thought that was.
Yeah, do it again.
This is a well-oiled machine so far, guys.
Just so Chris goes at home.
Chris, we're going to start out with some new brewery news this month.
Yeah. So Racine is getting its second brewery again, but yeah, good for Racine. Yeah. Longtime homebrewers Mark and Christine Flynn have opened Little Port Brewing in a building just a stone's throw from the Root River downtown. The Flynns have operated the Hop To It homebrew store just across the street since 2006. So that's a pretty well what do you call it? That's a thing that happens a lot. Homebrew, we know, also started out that way. It was several others. Working Draft last month. Okay, so the thing about Little Port is the taps are open, but house beer is not flowing yet. So they're going to start brewing later this summer, and they'll have a grand opening. This has been kind of a long time coming. For the Flynns, the first reported date of Little Port's opening was summer 2018. So it's been a while, and I don't think you can blame the pandemic entirely for that. But interesting stuff. Racine is a pretty big city, obviously, to have only had one brewery. That is Racine Brewing Company. Since 2008, Benjamin Beer Company was actually the first brewery in the city since before pre I don't know. I don't know how long it's been. I gotta admit, but before the industrialization and all that stuff. Why am I saying things that but Benjamin Beer Company closed after just 2 years in business in late 2017. So that is the deal with Racine's brewing scene.
Racine's brewing scene. Very nice.
I didn't even. Boy, this has been a night so far.
Yeah, this is great.
We're already kicking some ass.
It definitely amazes me that there's breweries opening during this pandemic, or even at the end. It's just, I wish them all the best. It's just weird how all of this is coming out. It's
kind of a lot too. Not a lot, but this is not,
right.
Not really an outlier.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Next, we have a follow-up on a story we spent some time with last year, and it's probably not what you think that we have a follow-up on.
Yeah, right. This is not the brewing news. So on Badger Beer Hour loyalists may recall a conversation with historian John Harry about People's Beer in Oshkosh. That is Wisconsin's first black-owned brewery. Well, People's Beer had died out nearly 40 years ago, but it actually exists again. John reported earlier this month on Good Beer Hunting that John reported that earlier this month on Good Beer Hunting. So a little bit of backstory here. Ted Mack was the leader of the group of investors who bought People's Beer. This had been a brewery in Oshkosh since around 1913. He bought it in 1970. The brand only lasted 2 years in their hands before it was shut down. And after Ted Mack died in 2019, his family began efforts to revive the brand, and his son Ted Jr. got a call from get this, former NBA star and Sacramento, California Mayor Kevin Johnson, Phoenix Suns guy.
Yeah.
And also should be noted, kind of a scandal in office that left in disgrace of dispersing funds, stuff like that. So he and these days, Kevin Johnson is part owner of Oak Park Brewing in Sacramento, and he and Ted Jr. kind of became friends, and they eventually agreed to relaunch People's Beer from Oak Park. Oak Park is one of the few breweries in the country with Black ownership, Kevin Johnson, and its brewmaster, Raj Little, is also African American. So, it's a good story, makes sense. But you have to have the recipe to make a true People's Beer. I mean, maybe not. You can just put it under the brand. But they wanted to have what's that?
I was gonna say they wanted to pay homage to the original.
Yeah, they wanted to be true to the People's Beer story. So they were looking for a recipe, and local historian Lee Reiheiser, I want to get that right, had already kind of done that detective work. Local, this is in Oshkosh, tracking down some employees of People's Beer, and he found an employee from 1953 to 1968 who had the recipe and brewing notes, the whole deal. So Reiheiser replicated that earlier version, of People's Beer through home brewing, and actually got it made commercially 2 years ago at Bare Bones Brewing in Oshkosh. That wasn't exactly the time of Ted Mack's People's Beer, so and that was kind of what the family wanted. So the story is a little squishy about this, but it says that eventually they kind of just found the recipe in Ted Mack's files. It was written in a way that seems a little skeptical of that they suddenly found this recipe. But anyway, it's come to form, or come to life, and it is a light lager, as would fit with a beer made in post-prohibition, post-war period. So Harry reported that People's Beer has been a hit for Oak Park Brewing, and the brewery is actually in talks to consider it getting brewed under contract in the Midwest or in Wisconsin for distribution here, possibly even by the end of the year.
Yes.
John's story suggests that there's some kind of thorny issues yet to be overcome with distribution and rights and all that kind of stuff before that happens. But it sounds like there's a pretty good chance that we might be drinking actual People's Beer before 2022 arrives, which is a very cool story.
Cheers.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That is a fun story.
It is. Good story.
All right, Chris, you know what they say. Spilling a beer, or many for that matter, is the adult equivalent to losing a balloon.
Is it?
Huh?
I've never heard that. Is that?
No.
Did they say that?
That's what they say. I don't know who they are.
Okay.
I don't know who they are,
Okay.
but that's what they say.
All right. So on May 14th, this is last week, a semi jackknifed on I-43 near Big Bend, far eastern Waukesha County. And we report routinely on traffic incidents here on Badger Beer Hour, so you can probably imagine where this is going. Well, this semi overturned and spilled its cargo into the ditch off I-43, and it was beer, cases and cases of beer, cans. It looked like truck was kind of spilled off, and this is like having worked for a few media websites and things or news organizations over my career, I can tell you these stories get mad clicks. People love overturned spilled beer stories, and so we had one, and that's not far from it. The cases on TV footage looked like they were red, and there was a lot. I mean, it was a big semi whole deal, and it's all out there. And I don't know what happened to the beer. I cannot tell you that, but I can say that I can speculate that it seems likely that it was coming from the south to the north toward what would be Beechwood Distributors, the Anheuser-Busch distributor in southeastern Wisconsin. So all very, we may have lost a case of Budweiser or a truck full of Budweiser. So that's the story. But this was not the first beer truck crash in Wisconsin this month, guys. May 6th, Baraboo Scanner, which is a pretty good follow on Twitter if you're into that, reported that the State Patrol reported that beer was pouring out of the side of a crashed truck. 42,000 pounds of beer, which I don't know if that's a lot. Seems like a lot. Like
Sounds like a
21
lot.
tons of 20.
That's a lot.
21 tons of beer, but I don't know how much.
That's
I
a
mean,
lot.
beer's heavy, and I don't know how much beer that is. Seems like it's a
It's a
lot.
lot. Though. It's a
But
lot.
that they were having to offload it because the truck was split all open. So I don't. That was unclear where that was, but probably in the Baraboo area, guys. If we have a beer shortage because of truck crashes in Wisconsin, that's gonna be a thing. We don't want that. Not good.
Not in this state. Not
We're
in this
gonna cut news short a little bit this month because we've got
Yes.
2 interviews to get to this month. Very exciting, and frankly, it was kind of a slow month otherwise for beer news in Wisconsin. Obviously, you could tell we went with the beer truck crashes and Badger Beer. Anyway,
I mean, that's news regardless, but
hey, one quick thing. We broke some news on Twitter earlier this month too, I guess. New Glarus is bringing back its peach sour. Appears this is like the one that was like very sour or wild peach. The kind of became a whale in beer trading circles, and I think the last one was a brewery release in 2015. Unclear if this is exactly that or close to it. I mean, it's a wild, spontaneous fermentation beer, so who knows? It could be, wouldn't expect it to be exactly the same, but it looks like it's bound for a thumbprint release sometime this summer. It'll be called Lots O Peach 21. Pretty exciting.
And it'll probably be a spotlight here.
Yeah.
On to the interview. What's up, Landon?
What's up? All right, I don't do this often, but I'm happy when I get to do it. I'm even more happy when it's someone from my part of Wisconsin. So, actually, not even that far away from my house, but I believe he's in his bar in his house, so he may be a little farther away than his actual brewery. But we'll bring on Eric Reichel from Modicum Brewing in Altoona, which I'm in Eau Claire, but yeah, there he is.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining
Cheers,
us, Eric.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And nice to meet you, Eric.
You too.
I have one of yours.
Oh,
Yeah.
shucks. That's very
Yeah, I'm kind of a brown noser like that.
I have
Show
one
the
of
can
mine.
again, Landon. Yeah, Landon, show it again. Ooh,
So,
a beard.
Yeah,
a
beer to guard.
guard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. That's
All
not
right.
that's not your normal everyday style.
It is for me.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, which leads us into, I mean, Eric, just tell us a little bit about modicum. I mean, modicum, the word modicum means, a small quantity of a particular thing, especially something considered desirable or valuable.
Somebody's been reading the dictionary. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
Or
There it is.
your website.
Or your
It's
website.
on the website. I spent most of my career working for breweries that were in a constant state of growth, which is several things. It's exciting, and it's also a total pain in the ass. And when I eventually decided to branch out and start my own place, I knew I wanted it to be as small as was sustainably possible. Modicum, sums up the fact that we're a tiny brewery. It also just kind of sums up the beers that we brew. We don't do anything that's super in your face or super extreme. We don't do a ton of really high ABV, imperial stouts, things like that. We do a lot of really sessionable beer, very balanced beer. Everything we do, we really try for balance and subtlety, complexity, but a subtle complexity. Small amounts of good things.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
I think I've had one high ABV beer from you guys. That was the collab that you did with Tomahawk Room in Chippewa.
Yeah, we've done a couple of bigger beers. I'm not, we don't only brew session beer, but we tend to brew a lot of sessionable beers. But yeah, we do a few bigger beers. We have a anniversary beer coming out this summer. That'll be north of 10. So it'll be a big beer. But
Ooh, what kind of
Yeah.
beer is that? Or are you keeping
Uh,
it a secret?
no, it's not. Well, I haven't announced it yet, but this will be the announcement.
Great.
So
Yeah.
it's a beer we do from time to time. We just call it our Grand Cru. It's an imperial version of our Belgian blonde. And this year we're doing something a little different with it. We are removing a portion of it from stainless, aging it in rye barrels, and blending that portion back in. So the whole beer isn't getting aged in barrels, because I think that would be a little overpowering for a delicate beer like that. But a portion of it will be aged, and actually is aging right now in rye barrels, and will get blended back in with the main beer.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it should be pretty good.
When's that one coming out?
Mid-July for our
Mid-July.
our anniversary. Yeah,
Oh, fantastic.
What anniversary will it be?
4th.
And you've been there the whole time?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
And you're in an old bank, right?
Yeah, it was a bank, originally built as a bank, and then it was a church for a while, and now it's a brewery.
Yeah. Because and the only reason I even knew that it was a bank, because you still have the vault in there, right? That's pretty impossible to get rid of that thing.
Yeah, the original plan was to get rid of the bank vault, but apparently they're really hard to move. Who knew? So we kept it.
Yeah.
And what is the bank vault's use now?
This isn't just a clever name. We do call it the malt vault, but it is actually where we store all of the malt. So, and then when I'm talking to other brewery owners, I always joke that it's where I keep all of the money I make.
Right.
And you can go in there and you can keep any money you find.
Yes. So I mean, along with having sessionable beers, there are some really unique things. At least I think about Modicum that I've yet to see, I guess, in any other place. I would like to talk a little bit about those Czech side pour handles that you have.
Mm-hmm.
I had a picture of it, and the hell if I could find it, but yeah, and Greg probably has never heard about them, but those Czech side pour handles, I know they're very unique. They're very unique to the Eau Claire area, and they're very unique, at least to all the places that I've been to.
Yeah, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that we were the first brewery in the state of Wisconsin to install them. And I know since we put them in, several other breweries have, but not in our area. A lot of places down in Milwaukee, I think, have them.
Sure.
In fact, when I first bought them, you could only order them directly from the manufacturer in the Czech Republic. So I had to deal via email because of the time difference with somebody whose English was not very good and my Czech is horrible. So buying them was definitely difficult. I know just enough Czech to order a beer, and that's about
me too.
It was difficult, but I got them, and now you can get them. There's actually an American distributor who sells them. So more and more places have started to install them now that they're easier to get.
Sure.
But yeah, they're really, really cool. They're made by a company called Lukr, Lukr, and they're just a really beautiful way to serve. I mean, lager, but really anything. I've poured a lot of beers through them. I've poured IPA through them. I've poured stout through them, and they're incredible. I'm a really big fan of different methods of service, especially traditional methods of service, because the method of pouring and serving a beer has such a huge impact on the beer itself. Anybody who's ever had real English cask ale knows exactly what I'm talking about. And this is similar to that, where it just the faucet that you pour the beer through completely changes the aroma profile, the flavor profile, the body of the beer, everything. And it almost always improves it. It's one of those things that it just makes everything taste better. So I love them. And yeah, we were the first brewery to put them in the area, and we kind of made a big deal out of it because I was just really excited to have them. Because we brew a lot of lager, and to pour our lager through something like that was a big step forward for us in terms of just the service and the service side of our business. But nobody else had ever heard of them, and nobody else really cared. So it took a long time for us to just constantly be harping on people about how cool these tap handles are, and you should try drinking a beer out of them. But now people, they love them. And people come in specifically because they heard that we have them.
Yeah. And real quickly, I want to ask them something about being a lager brewer. Are you I don't know anything about Modicum, to be honest. But were you guys ahead of the trend of lager? Because I feel that there's a trend of craft beer people, especially like me, who've been a while, and I've been through my IPA run, and I've been through my sour run, and now I'm looking for a nice, delicate lager, maybe with some hops in it, sessionable, drinkable, all that. So it sounds like you guys were either ahead of the curve, or you're like, hey, we like our lagers, and we're just going to bring them. So where were you at?
Yeah, we're only a 4-year-old brewery, so depending on where you think that trend started.
Recently, within a couple of years, not even, even a little bit before the pandemic, I think it was trending that way. And then the pandemic threw everything out. So it's kind of like, I'm almost like saying, like, it's still gonna go, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I have always, I've been brewing beer professionally now for almost 12 years now. And since day one, I've been obsessed with lager. I love lager. I love traditional lager styles. Czech lager, German lager, just about anything. And of course, working for other breweries, we never brewed lager, because 10 years ago, nobody made lager in a small craft brewery. But when I opened Modicum, we've made lager since day one. It's always been a big part of our profile. We really opened with a focus on lager and Belgian styles. I love lager and I love Saison. So those are generally what I tend to drink.
Right. But there's a nice palette there too, though, because, lagers and Belgians, vastly different as far as taste goes, a lot, in many areas. So you're actually, by doing that, you're still giving out a nice, range of flavors for your customers.
Yeah, definitely. It's been interesting because, when we opened with a lot of lager, I think, when we first opened, we had over half of our beers were lager styles. And our selection has grown considerably since then. But a lot of people, I think, looked at it back then being only 4 years ago, but which in craft beer, that's a millennia.
Right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And back then, people looked at us like, oh, they're just brewing these lagers to have an easy drinking option for non-craft beer drinkers. And which is never the case. I just love these styles of beer, and so I decided to brew them. I remember one time somebody came into the brewery, ordered a flight of beers, and got our Helles in the flight, and they drank the Helles, and they waved me over, and they said, I just want to let you know, I don't think you need to brew this beer. And I thought, what do you mean I don't need to brew that beer? And they said, well, I don't think craft beer drinkers need to have a light, easy drinking option anymore. I think we've moved past that point. And I didn't know what to say at the time. First of all, our Helles is quite possibly my favorite beer that we make. It's also one of my favorite beers to brew, because I love the challenge of brewing Helles. But also it's our best selling beer. So I don't know much about business. I'm not a very apt businessman, but I do know that's probably a really bad idea to stop making your best selling product.
I mean, that's the basics of business. I would think. Yeah, you got that down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Todd agrees with you.
Lager is life.
Cheers,
yeah,
Todd.
absolutely, man. So with all that said, what do you have coming up this year? I know with the pandemic and stuff, things have been tough, and now with our mask mandate being gone and all of that, which we don't even need to get into. That's its own thing. But
Sure.
We get to
Greg. We had a mask mandate in the county. Now it's gone. So,
Mhm.
but what do you have? I know you mentioned the anniversary beer coming up. You in the past you had the collaboration with the Tomahawk Room and stuff like that. Do you have anything more like that on the horizon?
Yeah. We've done a few collaborations. I have a difficult time with collaborations. I feel like a lot of breweries just do them just to do them.
Sure.
I want to do one if there's a purpose behind it, or if the person I'm brewing it with we have an actual connection.
Right.
I get emails all the time like, "Hey, we should collab on something." It's like, I don't even know who you are. Like why would we do a collaboration? We have nothing in common. So we'll do more of those things. I have a few of those in the works. Nothing I'm quite ready to talk about yet.
Sure.
Just hopefully coming out of the pandemic, right? Fingers crossed.
Right.
We're just looking to get back into normal brewery stuff. Like I love doing beer dinners. Beer festivals I could take or leave, to be honest. I've done way too many of them in my lifetime, but beer dinners I love. So I'm excited about doing more of those as things start to open up and we have opportunities to do that sort of stuff. We have a few collaborations we're going to do, the collaboration with the Tomahawk Room. For everyone listening who isn't from where we're from, the Tomahawk Room is the greatest bar in the history of the world.
Yes.
And you should all go to Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin and go to the Tomahawk Room.
Okay.
And so great. We did a collaboration with them, brew beer based on their kind of house cocktail. And it was really, really fun. We're going to do that again. Very excited about doing
If it's the best beer, if it's the best bar in the world, then I have to go. Okay.
It's the best bar in the world.
All right.
Yep, for several reasons.
All right.
I love it. It's one of my favorite
All right.
places. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
The house that I'm sitting in right now is about a mile away from there. And I moved here because of its proximity to the Tomahawk Room. And that is not a lie.
See, there you go.
All right. I'm sold.
Don't need any more proof than that, man.
right.
And in the future, I'd love to have you on again. But for those that want to know more about Eric, this is a little bit of shameless self-promotion. The Taproom Travelers, which is the group that I'm part of, we do a podcast called Taproom Takeover. We did an hour sit down with Eric a couple weeks ago. It'll tell you all about Eric's past. We probably could have digged a little deeper into it, but we didn't go too deep. But it'll tell you about where he started. And I'll just name drop one place. He used to be the head brewer at Brewing Project. So for all those people that know Brewing Project, he used to be the head brewer there,
Yeah.
right?
Everyone knows Brewing Project, period.
Yeah.
So
So
in this state, everybody knows them. If you don't know Brewing Project,
but
look them
now
up or something.
but now it's time that you learn what modicum is and you come to
Yes.
well, it's barely into Altoona.
It's
Basically,
in Eau Claire.
come into Eau Claire. You'll never know that you're in Altoona, but you can say that you visited
Right.
both cities. So
And for people who are not in Wisconsin, if you're traveling through, it's right off the interstate.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you have to stop there. There's so many good things there. So I like stopping there between Minneapolis and Madison, where I'm from. So it's always nice. Hit a brewery, pick up some takeout on the way home. Let's go.
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And you guys got a nice outdoor setting too. So for those that aren't quite ready to go sit in, I mean,
Yeah.
you have an outdoor setting. Let's put it that way.
We have tables outside.
Yeah. I was trying to talk it up a little more. That way, you know.
No, because then they'll just be disappointed.
All
Well,
right.
I appreciate your time, Eric. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's and keep brewing that good beer, man. I enjoy every visit there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric. Nice to meet you.
Cheers. Nice to meet you too.
Cheers.
All right, back-to-back interviews. Very exciting here. This next piece is about a new beer, but it's about a lot more than that too. And it's kind of a bigger topic than we often talk about on here. I mean, although I guess we talk about some things, but it's about the beer is called Things We Don't Say. It's a new IPA. It's a collaboration, kind of on the scale of Black is Beautiful or All Together during the pandemic. So it's a nationwide collaboration, and it started right here in Wisconsin. And our second guest tonight, is Nicole Hensel from Malt Europe Malting Company. And there she is. Hi, Nicole.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for joining us. You got the goods right there.
I got a couple cans here. So I do have to say, I met Eric at Modicum a couple months ago when I was visiting Brewing Project, and he is pretty awesome, and their spot's great. So anyone who's in that area should absolutely go check it out. And while we're on the topics of Eric's, I'm sitting here outside of Three Cellars in Menominee Falls, and my brother surprised me at my event tonight. Whoops. That's a little technical difficulty. And told me that I was not the first Hensel that was on this little event. He very, very clearly let me know that Eric Hensel had been on this event prior to Nicole Hensel. So give him a little shout out at Lion's Tail, where I saw his tin tacker in the background of Lance's room. So
excellent. I had no idea that there was
that would be my brother, my big brother.
Oh,
so
nice. Well, it's a family affair here on Badger Beer Hour. Awesome.
The industry just comes full circle during Badger Beer Hour.
Well, thanks for joining us and taking the time to talk about this awesome collaboration. Can you just tell us what this is about? And here, I think I've got a bigger screen, so there we go. So
Things we don't say. I have.
There we go. We got
Cheers.
we're drinking the same thing. So tell us what this is, what it's all about, how it got started. I bet you've got the elevator pitch down by now.
I mean, I do and I don't. So I'm gonna try and give you the Cliff Notes version, because I feel like there's so many different extensions of it. But I'll go back to November of 2020, where I sat in on a I guess Iowa Brewers Guild event, where Joel from Hope for the Day and Trevor from Old Irving Brewing Company down in Chicago spoke. And the project they were talking on at the time was called 86 the Silence. And it was talking all about how we want to 86 the silence of mental health issues in the industry. And I sort of felt that I had never connected to something so much in my life. They kept saying their kind of flagship term of "it's okay not to be okay," and talking about how there's so many things going on in the food and beverage industry, in the brewing industry, and all these things that are not talked about. And me personally, having dealt with anxiety causing some depression in my adult life, just really kind of grabbed onto it, that I think what they're doing is amazing and I really want to be a part of it. So Joel, who is their director of public policy, and I started talking and spitballing, and it was really like two little kids talking about all of their favorite markers. We came up with 1,000,001 favorite ideas of what we should do before we finally narrowed in and kind of saying, like, we want to do a beer. They had done some like one-off collabs prior to this point, and we kind of said, okay, like, let's make it something bigger. I think the two of us kind of thought like, between the breweries, the breweries I know, the breweries I work with, like we could probably get like 12 people who want to do this collaboration project. And this could be like a really huge thing for all of us. And little did we know at that time that it was going to turn into what it did. So basically our conversation started of, we work with these craft breweries. We love these craft breweries. It's a huge community. That's not only the industry people in the community, but all of the people who love craft beer coming into that community. And the breweries have a platform and have cans that go into hands of so many people. So why not use that as a way to extend what Hope for the Day is doing and have their education and their resources reach people beyond just what they're able to reach. So, I was super excited. They offer nationally vetted resources. They offer a resource compass that lets you put in your zip code and links you to resources that are like in your neighborhood, whether, from anything you need, from mental health services to just social services, finding energy assistance, housing assistance, anything that could possibly affect your mental health. And I think we finally came to the point that we wanted to do this beer. And honestly, because the last 6 months are such a blur of so many amazing things happening, I can't tell you what happened first, whether it was myself reaching out to my boss at Malt Europe saying, hey, I met these guys, I talked to them, this is what we want to do. Do you guys want to get involved? Which my boss immediately said yes. He said, we want to support in any way we can. We've cut the costs on malts to allow breweries to participate. Or if it was the fact that Joel and I got off the phone and I literally got in my car, drove to Eagle Park and said, hey, Jackson, do you have a minute? And Jackson and I sat down, I talked to him about it. And before he talked to Jake, before he talked to Max, he sat at a table with me and said, we're in. I kind of told him what we wanted to do. And he said, absolutely. I think it's a great cause. I think it's something we want to be a part of. We want to design the recipe. And from there, it kind of just spiraled. Malt Europe had doing some collabs. We don't carry hops. Hollandberry and Son hops are very close friends of some people at Malt Europe. They don't carry malts, and we said, let's do some projects where we work together. And that sort of turned into me saying, hey, Steve, we're working on this project. How can we, would you guys be interested? And Steve said, absolutely. Let me talk to Matt Holmberry himself and see what we want to do. And they immediately jumped on board. And kind of from there, it was a matter of partner after partner jumping on board. Ryan and Ange at Ego Proof jumped on and said, we want to create, design, and offer all of the labels free to everyone. And then, moving on from people, the group at Hop Smash and Craft Beer Partners who wanted to help us promote. And as far as most recently, Blue Label Packaging saying, anyone who wants to make this beer, we will print the labels for free. So I think it kind of just rolled into this project that was like, well, absolutely. Why would we do it? Let's see to grow to what it was. I think the initial idea was to launch it on May 1st, which was the Eagle Park launch, to sort of coincide with what Hope for the Day does for Mental Health Month and really highlight and spread awareness of, mental health in the industry and also what they're doing, as well as push the fact that they want to get their goal in 2020, I believe, is 50,000 people educated. Which we are pushing really hard to get everyone in the brewing industry involved in those educations, as well as consumers, as well as get resources out there. And I think that varies kind of in a lot of different realms throughout this project.
So there's a lot going on here, obviously. So
I gave you so much info.
Yeah. Well, let me start with how, like, the kind of your motivation in all this. I mean, you mentioned struggling some yourself, and this is kind of the, to the slogan on the beer, the name of the beer. It's okay to not, or not to be. It's okay not to be okay. That, I mean, it's about normalizing talking about this. Was there something that either you went through or you saw somebody else go through that kind of galvanize this in you to say, we have to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think, typical to anyone else our age, which I say is late 30s to early 40s, we grew up in a world where you don't talk about stuff. That was the norm. If something was wrong, you buried it until it just went away. And I think as I started to realize some of that stuff couldn't be buried and that it needed to be talked about, and the more I had conversations about it, I talked to my parents very reluctantly, saying, hey, this is where I'm at and this is what I'm going through. But once I started talking to my friends, realizing like, this is not just a me thing. This is so much of a bigger thing that everyone else is struggling with. And when Joel and Trevor were talking, it was like, yeah, I totally relate to that. I've been there, and I know so many other people who have been there who have felt like they couldn't say something or they couldn't talk about it, especially at work, especially like when you're working in the restaurant industry or you're working in the beer industry. I came from, prior to being in the malt world, I was in a distributor, and you walk in anywhere and everybody looks at you, everybody looks at someone in the brewery, everybody looks at your role and says, how could you be having a bad day? You talk to people about craft beer for a living. You make craft beer for a living. You sell craft beer for a living. It's so much of a stigma around all you do is drink all day and have fun with all of the coolest people ever. And yes, there are days where we sit down together and we drink beers and we have a great time. But there are also days that we work really hard. There are also days where we're working 12, 14 hours a day to try and get the stuff that we need done. And it's not just a constant party, and it's not always happy. And there are a lot of awful things, but you can't tell people about that when they're saying, oh my God, you have the best job ever. You cover 6 states selling malt, and all you do is travel around and talk to craft breweries. Like, yeah, it is. Don't get me wrong. It's an amazing job. I love my job, and I could not be luckier to have the job that I have. But that doesn't mean that there aren't bad days. That doesn't mean that there aren't days that me as a woman walks into a brewery and won't get the time of day because I'm a woman and because somebody thinks that I might not know about it, or even that like I might not be having a bad day, or the brewer might not be having a bad day and not want to talk to anybody. Like, the reality is that, and I think so much of that gets pushed under the rug when everybody thinks like, oh, well, this industry and these jobs are just so much fun and all you do is drink beer and talk about beer and live beer. Like, how could you ever have a bad day? And I think that goes well beyond brewers and salespeople. I think it goes to bar owners and bartenders and service industry workers. Like, oh yeah, you bartend, you get a shift drink at the end of every shift. Like, your job must be awesome. But the reality is, you deal with so many people throughout the day that you may be an empath picking up what's happening in their day, or you may just be dealing with something wrong and you're getting crabby people all day, but you can't turn around and walk to a table and be like, hey, I'm having a bad day. All of these things just happened and it really sucks. You have to put on a smile and act like everything's fine and push everything under the rug. And then after work, nobody wants to talk about that. Part of that was we knew going into it that we would get a lot of slack on combining a depressant of alcohol with something such as mental health. But also we pushed beyond that, thinking like, this is us meeting people where they're at. Where do most of conversations happen? It happens when people sit down with a beer and they feel comfortable talking about what's on their mind. And whether that be them saying, hey, what's this beer about? We want to have a conversation about mental health. Or, hey, what are these 7 nationally vetted resources on the side that whether I want to talk to my friends about or not, I now have them. Or, hey, this QR code on the corner of the beer here will link me to local resources that are vetted already that I don't have to search through Google to find. So whether you're comfortable sitting down at the bar and saying, hey, wow, this beer is bringing up something and I've had some issues, or you're saying, okay, like, I'm not comfortable talking to the guy next to me, but guess what? Here's these resources in my hand that I may not have known existed, or I may not have known were, even available to me.
Yeah. I kind of feel like having the having the conversation out there, just in and of itself, the very existence of it, the fact that people talk about beer all the time. Like, I mean, if there's some other beer, we might be talking about that beer, or the person next to you might be, So I think having its mere existence, accomplishes its mission. But there's also, I mean, you mentioned the resources on the side. I just kind of want to give, like, you can see, there we go. You probably can't really read that, but these are phone numbers, resources for how to get help for lots of different groups. I mean, there's a suicide prevention, sexual assault hotline, crisis text line, help for veterans, a project for LGBTQ youth, trans lifeline, substance abuse and mental health resources. So, I mean, it's a very broad thing. And I mean, I think having that in your hand and kind of pushing it in a new channel makes a big difference. But that's not all there is just the conversation, the actual direct resources that are available. This is also raising money for blanking on the name, Hope for the Day. Right.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think, the goal behind it, part of it was when we sat down and talked was, hey, like, Hope for the Day is a nonprofit, and the way that they provide these resources to everyone are based off all of the events and promotions that they have throughout the year. And with 2020, they struggled just the same way that the brewing industry did. And, we kind of wanted to team that up in a way that was, how can we raise awareness as well as maybe raise the funds for a nonprofit who's doing great things, but also be cognizant of the fact that breweries struggled through 2020, and it was a rough year for all of us. So that's really where where Malt Europe came in, saying, hey, we want to give 30% off of all of the grains to anybody who participates. And Holland Berry came in and said, we want to offer a discount. We wanted to make it so that it was easy for breweries to be involved and be able to have funds to donate either to Hope for the Day or to local mental health resources, or partnerships that they may have, without feeling that added stress that they may have had of struggling through 2020. We wanted everyone to still be able to be profitable on this. So that was, that was a huge part of it. But I think, beyond that, it's a matter of giving sort of that support to each of these breweries, letting them know, hey, we're all in this together, and the communities as well. I see scrolling down the page there, to some of the other partners, Ego Proof we talked about, and Hop Smash and Craft Beer Partners have been amazing in helping us, sort of put that out. Couple things I want to point out there where you're at is well-being as well as better drinking culture is, I talked a little bit about consuming it, or combining a depressant with talking about mental health. A huge part of that was wanting to make sure we had a non-alcoholic version, and teaming up with Wellbeing, who did a collab with Four Hands Brewery out of St. Louis. Wanted to make sure they partnered up with us and offering that a non-alcoholic version, as well as teaming up with Better Drinking Culture, just to talk about when we're drinking, why we're drinking, the impacts of what we're drinking, not giving someone a hard time for not drinking if they choose to drink. Really looking at, how we are. I think the craft industry as a whole, we all kind of said, like, people don't necessarily go to craft breweries to drink 20 beers. Beers $8 a piece. You're drinking, for the cost of what you could buy a couple craft beers for, you could buy a 30-pack. So, trying to kind of fit everything together, where that's not necessarily the culture of it, but also meet people where they're at and having that conversation with, they might have a beer in their hand type of thing.
Mm-hmm. I also want to just say one thing. I think you kind of downplayed one aspect of this thing, and that is the success that it's been. You said you were kind of hoping for maybe a dozen. Yeah, we can get maybe a dozen breweries or something like that. I mean, do you know the actual number right now?
So the number as of this very moment is 193, which is, I mean, mind blowing. And the thoughts of like the feelings and thoughts of what that is, I can't even put into words. You know, Joel and I think we hit 20, and the two of us were texting each other like, holy shit, we have 20 breweries. And then it became, you know, it's 50, it's 75, it's 100. And oh my God, Half Acre signed on. And, you know, it just became one after the other. And, you know, recently it was like China. We have, I think, 8 different countries. We've got Brazil, Spain, Netherlands, China, Canada, US. I know I'm missing a few just off the top of my head, but I mean, it's been something bigger than we could have possibly imagined. And I think, you know, we had someone recently who said like, well, this project isn't really that big. Why hasn't it grown? And I, you know, I think I got very defensive, but I also said like, I mean, I don't think we talked to Marcus from Black is Beautiful in starting this and to get some feedback from him. And I think along, you know, he would say the same thing. I don't think he ever thought that would turn into what it was. And we never in a million years thought this would turn into what it was. You know, I think we were like, okay, 12, maybe 25 breweries. So the fact that it's gone as far as it's gone and that there's people still releasing it beyond May, beyond Mental Health Month. And, you know, I think there's so many great conversations that have come out of it. There was an amazing video that was put out by Mike Williford at Tin Whiskers. And he put something into words, I think, that we all felt, and that Joel and I were like, that is exactly what we thought, but we couldn't put into words. And he said something along the lines of, this year, we're doing a brew called Things We Don't Say. I hope that next year we can do a collaboration called Things We Can Say. And the year after that, we make a beer called Things We Do Say. And I think that, you know, we thought like, yes, maybe this can be something bigger and this can be something beyond that. But I think he put it into words in a way that neither of us could have ever put our finger on. And that's, you know, that's exactly it. The hope is like, yeah, it's great and it's awesome to see this project grow. But the reality is it's about the message. It's not necessarily about the beer, how many breweries I can say joined us, or how many breweries I got to go and brew with, or how many breweries, you know, teamed up with all of the partners. It's really just about the message and making it something that, you know, smashes that stigma and allows there to be that conversation in the industry.
Well, I don't want to reject something that you just said, but I will say, like, every time, I mean, you kind of said the number doesn't, like, you're not really concerned about the number necessarily, but every brewery that does it, yeah, and I'm sure you know this, like, that is another echo within that industry, and there's another tap room where it's being talked about. And I definitely get the sense that that this came about with the focus on the but of course mental health crosses, I mean, everybody had, like, you know, it doesn't, everybody has mental health issues, and I think particularly now, you know, it's something that people need to talk about and need to hear. And if they're talking, if I mean, I just think about 193 tap rooms across the country, and people are starting to be back in those places and having conversations, or even in the grocery store, and maybe they're having a conversation with somebody in their household or a friend in the backyard, whatever. I mean, that message is just replicating and replicating. And you mentioned like big time breweries that are involved in this. You know, good here in Wisconsin, Good City is involved. Obviously, Eagle Park brings a lot of punch to that, just, you know, on their own, as being kind of I think they're referring to it as the host brewery. So I just hats off and thank you. And I do want to drink this beer with you, and we're going to do this is the beer spotlight for this month. So if you don't mind, I'd like to hold off 1 second. And if you want to stay with us and talk us through what you're tasting and that sort of thing, live on television or whatever we're on. But I also
I'm no Cicerone, so I don't know
oh,
what
that's
I'm
all right.
personally doing.
But I also, you mentioned, you touched on this a little bit earlier, and it's something that is very much in the beer industry zeitgeist right now. I almost feel like an idiot for even saying that because in that way, but there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of fallout and repercussions talking about, I mean, basically the shitty way that women in the industry are often treated, or bad action. It's hard to kind of qualify this, but
I know what you're referring to.
a woman who, just for everybody else, a woman who works for a brewery in Massachusetts, I believe, basically started collecting stories of terrible actions by men against women in the industry. And it started off as kind of like one thing, and oh, here's this person, and here's this high profile person that everybody kind of knows and loves, and they're an asshole and a predator, and it ran the gamut from like serious allegations of like actual sexual assault to more microaggressions, and one of the major kind of themes throughout all this was a lack of consequences, and people who could have imposed those consequences for employees, or basically not doing so. So I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but and I don't expect you to share any but can you talk about how that happens in the industry? I'm sure you've seen it. I don't know if it's happened to you personally, but any thoughts on that? I want to give you a platform because it's so right now, and really it's so important. Like, I mean, this is already one really important thing, but I think I'd love to. I think our viewers need to see this and hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, especially as a woman in the industry, you've seen things, you've heard things, you've experienced things. And I don't think that I would have even understood the extent of some of the stories that are being shared and posted on her Instagram. I think what she's doing is really bringing awareness. And I think a lot of that also plays into, especially women in the industry, their mental health. I don't want to say, and, I feel very fortunate that a lot of the positions I've been in, I have not felt inferior. I think that there's definitely some, there's some little bit of feeling like you have to prove yourself, and that's not necessarily, I want to be very clear that I don't feel necessarily that that's for any of the companies I've worked for, because I feel like they've brought me on and they've been uber supportive of me. I think there are people in the industry who you go and meet with that, I will say there was one last week, I'm not going to name any names, but that didn't want to give me the time of day because I was a woman. And when I mentioned that to one of my coworkers, they said, that doesn't surprise me. And, I think that's exactly what all of these women are trying to get at is, it isn't equal. And this has been a struggle for a really long time. And this is an industry that there aren't a large amount of women. There isn't a huge amount of diversity in it. And I think the Brewers Association, and master brewers have really put a push on trying to get more women involved, more diversity into the brewing industry. And it's one of those tough things because it's not always the most inviting, inclusive environment. I think I'm really proud of the people that have stepped up and said, this is what happened. I think we need to, as a culture and as a society and as women, feel more comfortable about telling those stories and going to the people in the moment about it and saying, hey, this is what's happening. This is not okay. And I completely understand. It's not the most comfortable thing to do, and it's not everyone always believes you, and it's not as black and white as that. But I think the more it gets talked about is the only way that it's ever really going to change.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's another one of the things we don't say in the beer industry.
I had a friend in the industry who works in the industry, and his wife messaged me this morning, and she said, I don't know. She said, I'm really proud of the project, and I don't know if you're familiar with what's happening here? And I said, I am. And she was like, I think, it's really important. She said, I tried to get in the industry and there's some reasons that I didn't. And that was enough for me to say, I understand. I get it. Not everywhere and not every door opens for women in this industry. And that's not to say it's just this industry, and it's not to say it's just women. I know there were over the last year some huge, maybe, I don't know if diversity is the right way, but accusations and insights and things being brought into the forefront. And I think, it's happening everywhere. And right now it's just being highly highlighted in the brewing industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for talking about that spontaneously. I know that we didn't really talk about that beforehand, so I'm glad you were able to. I felt like I think it's something that we really do need to talk about more often, and we have this platform, and it would be a shame to let that go by without.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a forum on our Master Brewers Association of every different district. It's a forum on the Pink Boots Society, on top of the fact that it's all over Instagram. It's definitely being discussed outside of just the accusations. It's being discussed and what can be done and what we can do. And there's been a lot of support from a lot of breweries and a lot of different kind of breweries all over the nation posting things saying we're in solidarity with this, and this is how we treat our employees, and this is what we actually would expect. And I think that's been really great to see. And I think nobody who's posted it has been a surprise to me. I've seen people posting things and thought, holy cow, like absolutely. I've never walked into your place and ever felt a certain way. So, but I think it's important for them to share and for people to really see like how some of these things are being supported.
All right. Thanks. Let's have a beer.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right. So our beer spotlight this month is obviously Things We Don't Say by Eagle Park Brewing. Whoop, there it goes. There it is. And it's worth saying, I think we should, preface this by saying that Eagle Park provided developed a master recipe for everybody that was available to them. But breweries were free to do kind of whatever they wanted with it. And I know a couple breweries a couple in Milwaukee actually did go a different way. I know Gathering Place did an IPL, India Pale Lager, and New Barons and Component teamed up to make also an IPL. So, and I think the idea there was that if a hazy IPA doesn't fit with your brewery's kind of identity or kind of motif, that you could still make this and be part of the cause without making this exact beer, which is very similar to Black is Beautiful and Altogether. That they provided a base recipe. And one thing I think it was interesting about this recipe is I know Altogether was very much other half from New York was the kind of they developed the recipe and they kind of were the impetus behind the whole effort. But it was and they kind of crafted the recipe to be easy to put together by basically anything that brewers had on hand. And this is a little bit different because, I mean, back then it was pandemic times, supply chains were messed up kind of, I think. But certainly the output was messed up. Brewers didn't want to be plopping down a lot of money for new ingredients. This is a little bit different because, I mean, even with the discounts and everything, I mean, it's great, but this is a beer with some sexy hops, some interesting malt stuff going on. So it's a little bit different. So let's see. Do we have the recipe on here? No, it's not. Okay, so
I do know what it is offhand.
I have it too. So go ahead. You want to talk about? I mean, this is what your company is bringing to the table here.
Yeah. So I mean, the malts that they chose were two-row wheat, our dextrin, which is a pretty crystallized version of dextrin, and oats. It's pretty oat and dextrin heavy in the words of a lot of other breweries, but pretty simple hazy IPA recipe that anyone could take and kind of make their own. They is kind of open to just following along as is, or changing themselves. And I think the biggest thing that we find from brewery to brewery is not everyone uses the same yeast. We have seen quite a few breweries change up the hops or their hopping patterns in how they did it versus the recipe. But we've also seen some very big extremes. We've got Gladiator Brewing, who only brews ancient recipes. So they brewed like an ancient 10th century Goza, or, Energy City down in Illinois, who did a very heavily fruited version of it that's purple. And then, like you said, the Gathering Place and the component New Barons Club, who did an IPL. We're seeing different versions of it. I had this event tonight at Three Cellars, and we had 3 different versions of it. Eagle Park, Phase 3, and Microphone. Microphone, for instance, dyed theirs red. Mike wanted it to be a hazy IPA that stood out from the other hazies that he had on and really showcased for Mental Health Month. So, we've had some people say like, "Oh, it tastes sour." It's like, no, well, I think that's just it's the exact same beer that's sitting next to you,
That's
but
your
it's
brain
red
telling you
in
that
it's red in your glass, so it's your brain telling you that it tastes different. When in all reality, it's almost the exact same recipe. So, there's been sort of minimal variations all the way down the road to extreme variations, but they've all been extremely fun to try and taste, and I've not had one that I did not love yet.
Yeah, and this one, I think obviously with a hazy IPA, the hops are doing a lot of work on this, and this one is Azacca, Cashmere, and El Dorado. El Dorado is, I believe the other 2 are used in the boil at some point, but El Dorado is solely in dry hop. And I don't know, what do you get from this beer? I'm the aroma to me is super kind of lemon limey, kind of that the sharper side of the citrus rather than kind of the softer, pulpier side. Maybe a little bit more on the peel side than the flesh.
Yeah, so I will say I was there for the canning of it, and Kurt handed me the first can off the line, and I cracked it open, and I was like, this tastes like bubblegum. So I think a lot of that attributes to the yeast that they use, but definitely getting that side more, and the citrusy notes on that end of things more so than like oh my God, this is an orange juice bomb hazy IPA. It still tastes like beer. You're still getting that hop profile. You're still picking up different notes from the hops, the yeast, the malt, without it but it's still, as much as you can see in the dark, a hazy. Yeah, there you go.
It's 3 sheets of glass. It's not proper, but that's all right. It's nice.
It's still very much a solid New England hazy IPA, which I think they do very well, and is part of why we went to them to come up with the base recipe, and why we felt they were such a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote this in a column that'll be dropping this weekend, but there's a lot. There's a few breweries you kind of trust with a master recipe for an hazy IPA, more than Eagle Park. I mean, that they're really good at this. And one thing a lot of the hazies that I have been at lately are kind of more of the juicier side. I guess, like I kind of mentioned this, like the kind of more pulpy, like mango-y kind of thing. And this definitely is a little bit, I don't want to say drier, but like almost like apricot or a little bit of melon too. I mean, I guess I think your mileage may vary, but it's not really a typical New England IPA profile, which I think is great, because I'm assuming that a lot of these breweries are just kind of adding this beer to their, like, kind of on the spot, just adding this to their production schedule and kind of their, pretty well thought out profile of what they want to make. And so, having something that's a little bit different probably makes it easier to say, well, I mean, they can always do whatever they want with the recipe, of course, but seeing something that's more plug and play of like, hey, this is really different than the hazies that we have on now, or the kind of profile that this is going to be a different beer than what we already have. So that was one thing that kind of, as I was drinking, I'm like, this makes sense,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a huge part of that was when we approached them and we were talking about recipe, we very much wanted to say, like, we know you guys are extremely creative and capable to do this. But we wanted to keep a couple things in mind. Like, obviously, we had partnered up with them. We partnered up with Hollandberry. So, they wanted to choose things within both of those portfolios, but also we wanted to keep it at around a 6%. We wanted to keep it as a beer that was, I don't know that 6%, it's not called a session, but it's sessionable. If somebody buys a 4-pack, they can have more than one and feel like, without feeling like they can't drive home or feeling like they're going to fall asleep. And I think a lot of that played into creating a recipe that really made it accessible to everyone. So we wanted to make it something that was desired and accessible to all consumers, and I think there's definitely like a West Coast IPA consumer. There's definitely an overly fruited IPA consumer, but this kind of falls in the middle of, you're going to hit a lot greater population. And also it leaves a base recipe that if there's a brewery that wants to change it up, wants to take that, but easily change it up, you can do that without having to, like I said, we've got Illinois who added some fruit to it, and, multiple other people who changed up the hops or the hot side versus cold side hops. And, you get a lot of those different flavors. And I think that it really created something that gave people the opportunity to showcase what they were doing without it necessarily being like something crazy over the top and also expensive. We wanted it to be something that was accessible for the consumer and profitable for the brewery, but also something that could raise some money for Hope for the Day.
Right. Awesome. I think it's an excellent beer and something that I'm going to enjoy buying multiple times, which is not something I do a lot as a beer columnist who's constantly cycling through things and always trying new things and not just because, actually, and honest, I gotta be straight about this. I'm drinking the Eagle Park one right now. My after show beer is going to be another one.
Ooh.
The IPL from Gathering Place. So I'm looking forward to breaking that one out.
I have it, but I've not yet tried it. I actually counted before I left the house. I have 28 different versions of them currently at my house. I think I've only tried about 5 of them.
Okay.
And I keep saying I'm gonna have a couple people over. We're gonna drink like an ounce or 2 of each and try them all. But
there you go.
Then more and more of them keep showing up in my life. So I keep thinking,
amazing.
well, I just have to wait until I have them all.
Your fridge is just a field of red. You got to zero in on the little logo on the bottom. That's pretty awesome.
My fridge is a field of red, and there's no room for the things that need to be in there, like salad and grilled chicken and fruit.
Yep. What are you gonna do? You got to get a beer fridge. I mean, come on.
Got to buy another fridge.
All right, Nicole, we are into minute 78 of the Badger Beer Hour, so we're gonna have to break this up. Thank you so much for talking about this, and again for the on the spot discussion of women in the industry. It's I think really valuable insight for everybody, and overall, thank you so much for doing this, and thanks for coming on the Badger Beer Hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, hey, you're on mute, Greg.
Come on, man. We're in month 15 of the pandemic. You can't be muting yourself on. Come on.
So listen, we're here at Badger Beer Hour. One of the things that we love, and one of the reasons why we gave this format, or we wanted to have this format, is so we can get user feedback during the show, after, before, all that. So we have a hotline that you guys can call or text at any time. Leave voicemails. Please leave texts. We will show them. You can get the Beer Baron. This is a good access to him if you don't like to email him, or you feel that the email is going to be cluttered or slow like the U.S. Postal Service. You know, you never know. If you, I mean, maybe you're a Telegram person, not sure.
Yeah.
But the email and the call text is there. We also have our website, we also have our YouTube channel, which most of our shows show up there. Some of them don't, but we can talk about that on the side. I just want to implore you guys to engage with us whenever you want. We are here on the stream once a month, but we are here all month round, looking for news to show you guys, looking for cool interviews. So anybody want to add anything before we get out of here?
Leave a message, man. Love to hear from you.
Give us a call.
All right. So the next Badger Beer Hour is June 16th at 8 p.m. And until then, cheers.
See y'all. Thanks for tuning in.